Okay, hi, welcome to the Open Studio. My name is Abigail and this is Zohari. And together, today we're going to show you how to make our Afikomen Seder plate pillow, which is in the Pesach bundle. So this is the finished example. It's been a little beat up. We sort of lost the bone, but it's okay. We're going to make a new one. So I just want to first explain what's in our kit, okay? So, the first thing is that you have your instruction sheet, okay? And this you can refer back to it. We're going to go through all the steps, but anything you forget or you need is right here in our instruction sheet. Now, along with the instruction sheet, you have a reference to look and see exactly what is on the Seder plate. And that's what we're going to use as our guide to create each of the things on the pillow, okay? So, you also have a tracers for the Seder plate pillow. Each of these shapes are going to be cut out and we're going to trace them onto the little pieces of felt to make the different things. So while I'm explaining the rest of the kit, I'm going to have my assistant Zohari cut out each of these shapes. You're going to cut out the bone, the small dishes, the egg, and the parsley. Okay? And then we're going to trace them. So you can do that for me. In the kit, you also have a little sewing kit. You have some thread. You have pins to hold it together. You have several different pieces of different color felt, and that's what we're going to use for the karpas, for the parsley, for the bitter herbs, for all the various things that go on the plate. Okay, now you also have glitter glue, which you can use afterwards to write the name of each thing or to decorate, but you don't have to. You also have two oval shapes. And this is going to make the pillow, the top and the bottom of your pillow. Now we're going to work just on the first one, and the last thing we're going to do is sew the two together and stuff it. You have pillow stuffing here. Okay. And the one thing that it does not come with, but it does come in the Pesach kit, is a pair of scissors and a marker or a pen. You can use a pen at home. You have a 6 pieces of Velcro, and they go together. And the reason you have these is because when you finish, the idea is that you can play with the pillow as a game, right? So as you're going through the Seder, you can decide, okay, so we're doing karpas, so then the kids can play and put the karpas on the plate, okay? So you actually don't even need the feminine side of it. You really only need the scratchy side of the felt. And then, so once we're done creating each thing, this was my karpas, I believe. Once we're done creating each thing, so then you just put it on, and because it's felt, it sticks. Okay, so what have we cut out so far? Oops, that's, we're gonna cut that part out. Okay, and then we also, we're back. Here, let me show you a trick when you're cutting. So Zohari's cutting and she's working really hard to get in every little shape. But if you're cutting from a big piece of paper, it's good to trim away first. It's much easier to cut. And you can zoom up if you need, okay? It's much easier, Zohari, if you cut away all the extra noise, all this rash here, in order to be able to get to what you want to do. Now, if you don't want to use our tracers, that's fine. You can draw your own bone. You can draw your own egg shape. This is just to help if you need, okay? So it's much easier to cut once you've cut away all this extra. So instead of cutting all the way around the egg, cut about the egg, and now it's going to be much easier and faster for you. I'll cut out this charose, and we can work together. And once we have all of these tracers cut up, we're going to come back and you can see where we are after this. Number 1 on here says cut 6 small circles from the large rectangle. And on our reference sheet, these are the dishes or these little plates that our pillow is going to come. So Zohari, your job is going to be to trace circles, and we need to have 6. So just using your marker, trace this once, and depending on how good your scissors are, you may be able to cut a couple at the same time. Now these are not great scissors, but the ones you have in your collage kit should be better. So I'm going to cut 2 at a time. And I'll need to cut out 6. Okay, so now we're back. We've got Zohari is continuing to cut out the circles, and I have my needle and my thread. And if you can't thread your needle, you can ask a grown-up to help you. And I doubled it and tied a knot at the end so it doesn't go through. Now, there is a side with the felt that's going to have the marker, which is the side I want to be on the inside because I don't want everybody to see it, okay? So now you can do something really fancy or something very simple. If you want to keep it simple, you can basically place your 6 little plates evenly around your Seder plate, like so. And from the back, and remember, you're only working with one layer. Our back layer of our pillow is over here. We don't want to accidentally sew it shut before we get anything ready. Okay, so now you can just go straight through and sew it, or you can make it look a little bit fancy, where you go through, and see how I did this kind of scalloped edge so it looks like a plate? You basically, and you might want to come up close for this to see, I'm basically going in and out and in and out all the way around my plate. A little bit, maybe 1 centimeter in from the edge, and you can do several stitches at once. You see, Zoe? So you can do the next one after this. In and out. And you see how it gets bunched up a little bit there? That's actually cool. Because once we finish, we're going to kind of pull it. And you'll see how it gets bunched up, and it'll look more than just a circle. It'll look like a little dish. Okay, now I went through, and I don't know how to say it in English, but mikufchachkaze, right? You bunch it up a little bit. Now, if you do bunch it up, then I suggest if you want to bunch it up, you see how it makes your plate look a little smaller. It almost looks like a cupcake holder, right? Yeah. So then it almost looks kind of too small. So if you are going to do that, I suggest that when you trace, you actually trace a little bit outside your tracer and you make your circle a little bit larger. Okay, now once I go in, I have one ready and I can just sew it right onto my plate. Okay, so now the thread came through the purple, and I'm going to go right to where I want it to be on my Seder plate, and I'm going to attach them. Now, of course, the other ones are going to fall off. That's okay. You see how it kind of stands up a little bit? And then I go through both. And in again. And out. And in. And now this is a really cool trick that I learned from my friend Cassie Stevens, who is an art teacher in Nashville. And she likes to call this airplane. And this is a great way to end sewing so that you don't have to tie a knot every single time. So remember, this is going to be the inside of my pillow. So do you remember how to do airplane? You remember how we do? So this is how we finish. We go, you can do a loop. You go in, make any loop anywhere you want. And you see this big loop? It's like on Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israeli Independence Day, where the airplanes fly upside down and do loop-de-loops. So you see this hole? It's flying through its own hole. And you have to do that 3 times, okay? So let's do it again. Now we can make any loop we want. Fly the needle through the hoop, through the circle. Now you see how easy it is? And you go again through the circle. Okay, and now, easy as pie, you can just cut it. You don't even have to worry about tying a knot or anything, and it's never coming off. So that's the first one. Now, since I have 6, I don't want to end up with them all squished onto one side and then I have this big space. So what I like to do is space it out. So I'm going to put one opposite, and then later I can put 2 on each side, so it's what we call symmetrical or even. Okay, so Zoe, are you ready to do this one by yourself? Okay, so remember the marker is here. We're going to put it upside down, and it looks like this thread is getting a bit short. So
we can cut it out.
Yeah, let's get another one ready. And in the meantime, Zoe's going to continue sewing all of these on. And the next step, and if you have several kids doing this at one time, you can each give them different jobs, or they can all, if they got the sibling supplement, they can each do one step at a time. But I'm going to get started on the next step, which is cutting out the bone, the leaves, and the egg shapes from the tracing, okay? And it says trace one bone, zaroa, onto the brown felt. So I'll find the brown felt, and you have some choices here. You don't have to do dark, light, and you can trace it and cut it out. And then you're gonna trace your egg onto white or off-white, and then cut that out. And then you'll trace your parsley or your lettuce shape, or you can just draw it freehand. Now, I like to draw it freehand because I like to have a bunch of different layers on it. So I'm just gonna kind of draw any shape I want. And what I'll do is I'll use these different colors, and then I can sew them all together to look like different types of lettuce. And you can draw on them if you want. Okay, so just a couple tricks when it comes to sewing that can help you along the way. So a lot of times the very first time it's not going to be enough. You have to do, I don't know if you can zoom up on my hand, but you have to do several knots right on top of the other so that it stops from going through. Now, how do I do that? I tie a knot and I pull it very, very slowly, and I can push up the thread with my thumb, with my fingernail, to get the knots almost in the same place, okay? And if you don't, you just keep going. Now, if you didn't double your string, you have a little tail here. It's very important, right, that we hold on to our tail with our pinky, right? Grab that tail. Otherwise, it's gonna come out every single time. So now Zoe has already sewn 4, and you can see what I did was I took the pins and I put them to hold these in place so I can space them out evenly. So now, do you want to continue doing Zoe decided to do the scrunching up of the edges, and it looks really nice. And then, so if you want to come over here, I'll show you in the meantime what we've done is we traced the bone, and on the back of the bone we put the Velcro, and if you can zoom up, you can see how this is the prickly side of the Velcro. Now I'm noticing that this tracer, the bone is very small, which is okay. You can also make it larger. But anyway, it sticks just like that. And I did the same thing on the egg, and that can go wherever you want it. And they can also move around the plate. Now for the lettuce, I cut out lots of random shapes. And what I'm gonna do once we're done sewing is we're actually just gonna sew them, not one on top of the other, because then we won't see that it looks like lettuce, but we're actually gonna kind of lay them next to each other and then sew them together. So it's one piece, but it'll sit on the Seder plate like that. And for the charoset, right, my favorite part of the Seder plate is we cut up burgundy, or Bordeaux, just squares. And if you want to take a shortcut, by the way, you don't have to sew any of this. You could use regular glue and just stick it on. If you're working with really little kids, just use regular glue, and you could stick this on, and you could glue these together, and you could even do the Velcro so the pieces still come on and off. And then I cut also 3 just different random shapes for parsley. And I'll just kind of lay them on top of each other and just put a stitch through, and I'll show you that now. Oh, remind me, I'm just going to show you again the airplane, which is you go through your old loop and give it a little tug, and then again, that's a good shortcut so you don't have to worry about tying knots together and ending your thread. Now I just want to show you how you can do the charoset. So the charoset I just chopped in squares, and I'm basically just stringing each, like almost like you're stringing a necklace. Doesn't matter where you go through. Just go through somewhere, and then you'll make kind of a little pile like that of the different colors. Now I like wine and nuts and, oh, I don't know, plums and stuff like that in there, so I just mixed up these colors. You can again use whatever colors you have, whatever you want. Some people like to put orange. But anyway, make a nice little pile so it looks like chopped up stuff. And when you're done and you have a big enough pile, you just go through again. Careful you don't stab your finger with your needle. Go through again, and that will hold everything together. You can go through a couple more times in the back. Can you sew, Zoe, my parsley together?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you do it. It'll always look nice. And then I'm going to do my airplane again. Each thing gets its own airplane. So that's an individual piece, and on the back of that, I'll put Velcro. Now, if your Velcro is too big, you could just trim it with the scissors. Like, for example, it was much wider than my bone, so I had to cut it. Okay. So we'll come back when we're all done with all these and go on to the next step. So in order to do that, so that these are out of the way, let's take off each of the pieces of our Seder plate. Zoe is just finishing up our maror, so this is our plate without anything. And we're going to put the back of the plate facing up. And we're going to lay like a sandwich the other half on top. Now, so these don't move while we're sewing. You have these pins, and you just pinch it together and go through both. And you only have 4, you don't need any more than that. And that will hold them in place while you're sewing. It's important to remember that when you're sewing, you never sew all the way around because you have to be able at the end to put all of our pillow stuffing inside. So leave a space about as wide as your hand, or a couple fingers, so you can kind of shove the stuffing in when you're done. Okay, so I'm going through, in and out both. And here's my 4th pin. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew all the way around here until maybe about here. And I'm going to leave a space. Actually, Zoe, you're going to do that. All right? You're very good at this. All right. So let's take more thread. Thread our needle. It's a lot of stopping and threading needles here, but that's okay. This one you want long, okay? And it's important here that you do the stitches really close together because you don't want the stuffing to fall out. A trick to get the needle through the thread, I put it in my mouth, I flatten it between my fingers, and I'll do it on the blue so you can see. I kind of turn it to get it in there. And I think this time I am going to double my thread so it's nice and strong. So it's double, and in order to keep it there, I just tie a knot. Then I don't have to worry about the tail, letting go of the tail and all that. Now, should we do a back stitch, do you think? The forward, back, or should we go around? What do you think? Should we show them both?
No, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so we'll show you both, and if you could stand up and zoom in closely, you can come on over and see what we're doing. Okay, so we want to go close to the edge. Now you can do a couple options. You can do, actually I think the coolest, because you're not going to turn this right side out, is just to go like this. Oops. Want to make sure you don't get caught on your pins there, or that you don't prick yourself. Now I start from the back and I just go around. So now I'm going in the front, over and through the bottom to the top. Right? Over. And you can actually do several stitches at once. So let me slow down and then I'll show you how to do several stitches at once you get pretty proficient at it. And then Zoe, you're going to take over because she's our resident sewing expert here. So from the back to the front. So you're making a loop there. And you want them pretty close together because again, you don't want your stuffing to come out. Right, Zoe? So you can pull it each time, or you can do 2 or 3, but make sure you always go from back to front. I'll do 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. I wouldn't do more than that because then it gets harder, but you see how it's nice and tight here. Okay, so I'm going to give this to you, Zoe, and now you're going to continue that for us, okay? Great. Until you get about that much left, and then we'll need to add a new thread. Save it so you have enough for your airplane. We're almost done. The next step is going to be to put the stuffing in the pillow, then to finish sewing, and then the last step is, if you like, is to decorate your pillow with your glitter glue, Also, there's sparkles and all kinds of fun things that came in the Pesach kit as well. And you can use those also. So we'll see you in a minute when we're finished. Thanks. Okay, so now we have our Seder plate. It's pretty much ready to be stuffed. We have sewn it all the way around, as you can see. It makes a nice little pocket for my hand. And we can even put these back on wherever we want. And again, they're removable, of course. So you can play with them during the Seder. All right, we have all of our pieces, and instead of, I thought it would look nicer to use some of our extra felt, which you should have plenty of, and to cut out the letters for Pesach rather than decorate it with glitter glue. You can also use some beads that are going to be in your collage kit, and you can sew some beads and do whatever you want with it. And now we're going to take the stuffing and gently stuff it in, a couple fingers at a time, until it's as puffy as we want. You don't have to use all the stuffing, of course. And so he's just preparing our needle, our last needle, to close it up. It's all ready to go. You tied a knot on the end, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what do you think? More stuffy, less stuffy? What do you think, Zoe?
More. I want more. Like,
It's a pillow, and when the kids get tired, they could just go to sleep on it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So should we use it all? Yeah? Okay. All right, do you want to sew it? Do you want to finish it?
Yeah.
Now, so that we don't see the thread, what we're going to do is, again, from the back to the front, right? So this might be a good thing to do to help the kids, because this part is hard because the stuffing really wants to come out. So I'm going to hold it for you. And you're going to go, there you go. All right, keep going. You want to hold it with your left hand?
Yeah.
Right there?
No, I want you to hold it.
Okay. I don't know if you can see up close, but here, let's hold it so the camera can see nice and close. And you can go a little further apart. Yeah, there we go. And we have a bit more to sew here. And then we'll be all ready.
So this is a pillow. That's how it came out. And yeah.
Oops, something went flying. Uh-oh, we lost our car pass. But yeah, that's it. So we hope you enjoy, and we'll see you for the next video.
Bye.
Chag Sameach!